Welcome everyone. This is the final workshop. So here are some pictures of people engaged in this sort of setting. Hands on hips, looks quite energetic. That's a slightly more genteel picture. That's an Irish one, so they had slightly different steps. I'm not quite sure what these people are dancing, but I think it's really interesting how many of them have their hands raised. This is a Scottish example, and they think the hands are raised to click fingers. They seem to have their hands joined as they're dancing. Now it's your turn. So for the authorities, lower order culture was sometimes seen as a culture of rebellion. At times there were attempts to repress the popular culture. But as we discussed, the attitudes to the surgeons on the convict ships, they understood that dancing was very beneficial. Even though people tried to repress it, it was so embedded in the culture that it was impossible to stop. Skip change. Can you scuff your feet as you stand on the spot and relax your arms? Okay. Yeah, you could do a jump and hop. So you go one. There's a quote from the Sydney Gazette which talks about the vivid excitation of animal spirits which music and dancing and unrestrained mirth produces. So for elite people, dancing was a social activity, but it was also a way of being seen and showing your position in society. But for the lower order people, dancing was really just a way to enjoy themselves, have fun. For convicts, there was a range of footwear as well. So the better off ones wore these sorts of shoes with buckles. For others, there was the studded shoe, convict-made shoe, likewise with the clogs. And of course, a lot of them didn't have any of that. They were just dancing bare feet. And now dance the reel. That's it. And now the reel. And we'll rest there. Now what I want you to try now, you know in those pictures they had people using their arms. Some of them looked like they were touching hands as they danced, and some of them had their hands quite high. Some of them had their hands about that level. What I'd like you to do is try that and see how it feels.
So I enjoyed adding the element of the arms in because I found that it's quite a simple dance without it, and so you can imagine it getting quite boring quite quickly. Whereas when you added in the arms, you had that complexity of human interaction of actually touching the people you were going past, and it gave you an extra range of freedom to express yourself and interact with the music.
Right hand star. Back to the left. First couple crossover. On the first diagonal, again with new people, right hand star.
I'm here for the rum and the soldier boys. But actually, watching them dance and in that smaller space, what I noticed was that we were getting noisier, and I feel that that was bringing the energy of how it would have been into the performance, because I think there would have been clapping and yahooing and that kind of level of activity in a small pub on George Street.
Down the middle. And back. Now jig down. And the sides. And move up. Ready, go again.
I like bobbing Joan as a dance because it allows you to develop your own steps, and through that, depending on your own abilities, you can advance the dance as much as you want to.
And left. One's down the middle. And set. And back. Circle. Start again. Set. Right hand cross. Back in second place. Circle. Down the middle. And set. Right to left. Right hand across with your partner.
It's always sort of interesting playing for dancers because it can really change the way that you can play or interpret the music. And if you see someone doing sort of a particular kind of step, you can sort of adjust how you're playing it to sort of suit what they're doing.
And after afternoon tea, if we have some whiskey, that'd be great as well. Yeah.
This has been a very rewarding experience for me to see how people use the dances, how different steps and different people bring quite different things into it, and it's very much helped me to form an image of what the dance looked like in 1820. The dances and the music that we've used today have been drawn from a police report which came from the Rocks area in Sydney in 1832. The account reads, Jeremiah Byrne, an itinerant who is in the habit of splitting the ears of the groundlings at the 2-penny hop shops on the Rocks, was placed at the bar, having been taken out of one of those public nuisances at a very late hour of the night. A man named Brown, to whom he is assigned, denied that he had his permission to be absent from home, and the bench accordingly called upon him to know what he had to say for himself. Why, may it please your worship, said Jeremiah Byrne, I am a musicianer, and I plays on the flageolet. I could play Bobbing Joan, Darby Kelly, Paddy Ward's Pig, or Judy Callaghan, with my musicianer in the country. And thereupon Jeremiah Byrne placed his flageolet to his mouth and struck up a tune that had well near inflicted the cholera morbus on all present. Do you call that playing? Exclaimed the constable at his elbow, snatching the instrument. I'll show you how to play, you impostor. What will your honour please to have? His honour, however, being perfectly satisfied with the piper's specimen, declined hearing the indignant constable's variations and ordered Jeremiah Byrne, as he must be pretty well tired of piping, to dance for the next 7 days. To dance for the next 7 days meant he had been assigned to the treadmill, and that was his punishment.